have, uh, first putting a context to it, I'll go through a presentation, few slides, share my ideas, and then we probably do a Q&A. Does that sound good? How do I?
Perfect. I think we have muted all the attendees as of now, so
Got it.
they won't be able to kind of
Got it.
respond. They are
That's
kind of
fine.
responding in the chat. You can just have a
Okay.
look at that in between. Yeah.
Yeah. So what happens with the chat is I need to get this joker out of this place. Give me a second. Let me just chat. Let me see if I can put the chat on the side so I can kind of get a sense of what's happening. Give me a second. Okay. Okay. So I think I can see some of the chats out there. So what I'm planning is we will start with English, and I thought I'll switch to Malayalam if that's okay with the folks, or if you want me to continue in English, I can do that as well. Uh, any Is there anyone who doesn't understand Malayalam? Let me ask that way. So if that's the case, then I can continue with English. Okay, we'll continue with English. I don't know. Is that okay, Dhanaj?
I think most of them are from Kerala itself, but maybe a couple of them from outside also. So you can, I think you can mix both, preferably English,
Okay.
and kind of have chip in Malayalam in between, whatever you are.
Okay. That's fine. So anyway, let me give you a quick intro for people who might not know. If they're only familiar with my internet persona, they might not really know what I've been doing, and so that's why I wanted to put with this one slide out there. So I graduated from REC Calicut in 1993, NITC, which is the now NITC, the former REC Calicut, and then I worked in India, Dubai, UK, US, and I've been an entrepreneur both in Kerala and in the United States. I worked and consulted also with Cisco, VMware, Wells Fargo, and recently I was with Singularity University. And currently, I'm a safe agile coach, and I'm an educator. I do content creation, and that's pretty much what I do for a living. And I'm the founder of a company called Pen Positive, and I've been living in San Francisco Bay Area for the past 18 years, 18, 19 years since 2002. That's pretty much about me. And I want to start the session by giving a context of where we are. And the first part of it is to say that we are all in this together. And what we are facing is a layered crisis because we have a health crisis, and that health crisis would definitely, and it's already started becoming an economic crisis. So there's a layered crisis in what we are, and this is going to impact each and every one of us. And I'm not going to mince my words. I'm not going to say things fine and everything, but we are all going through a pretty tough time, and I just want to make sure that uh, we don't we work with facts rather than giving people motivational speeches as to how good things could be. So I just want to make sure that we are very close to reality as it is. And next part is the safety of life comes before business. I know you're all startup people who run business, and I know all the problems that we all face running businesses in terms of cash flow and everything. But irrespective of all that things, life, the safety of life, people, employees, and everyone around us, that comes before any business. And that's my opinion. If people can differ, that's up to them. But that's my way of looking at it. Yes, we are at a place where some business do have an advantage. While majority of businesses are going to have a disadvantage, there are definitely businesses that have an advantage, and we will get through it as we move forward. Um, if if you know, see, this whole thing started from China, right? I don't know how many of you know that it's the same way of writing crisis and opportunity in Chinese. So everywhere where there's a crisis, there's also an opportunity. There's also an opportunity that to make a difference, maybe build something new, to have a different perspective of things. So crisis and opportunity are same. I just want to call that out because especially when we are talking about corona and covid and all those things, and since we all talk about the origination of that from China, and I just want to also share that crisis and opportunity being the same way of representing it also comes from China. These are also the best times for us to reevaluate, reorganize, realign, and also be resourceful. What I mean is, see, we all reached here from some point or the other. And as we find ourselves at this place now, locked, even though there is no lockdown here, we have been inside the house for the past 10, 12 days. And so I think this is a good time to reevaluate, even reorganize whatever company you have, realign with your customers, with your employees, and then you're going to have a scarcity of resources as you move forward. That might be financial, that might be people, that might be other tools related, but this could be a good time for you to really start looking at being more resourceful about things. Digital is the key. Now, we all know digital is the key, but it's even more important now to be looking at software systems, process, and remote working. Because digital, people talk about digital, but people don't really embrace digital as they could do. And that's the case with many companies, because most of the companies who have really transforming themselves in the digital age have started calling them software company instead of any other company, because every business is going to be a software business, every business is going to be a digital business. So you have to start working with software systems, processes, and remote working as a method in which you can not just survive but also thrive in a digital age. And that's why I said that I'm not going to mince the word. This is a longer run that we might really think. It is not going to finish in a month's time. So I just want to make sure that we all understand that this is not going to finish in 1 month. At least not for a startup, not for us who are employed, who want to work with customers and all. This is going to be a longer run, so we got to be prepared for that. And no one in this world can give us a one fit all solution, because there's nothing like that. The only thing that we know is that we are currently buying time, so that by the time we buy, there would be some solution. Either we get a herd immunity or we have a vaccine in place or something like that. So we are all buying time by locking ourselves up and maintaining the social distancing and everything. So no one has a solution with them, but we have certain ways of how we can really pass through these tiring times. So that's what I wanted to know. So there's no point in looking outside, looking at someone for solution. If you're running a startup, the solution has to come from you. Now, I'm going to share some ideas and opinions, and I've got 3 slides on that. So these are my perspectives about what could be done. You might resonate with some of the items, you might not resonate with some of the items. It might depend upon the size of your company, it might depend upon the nature of your business and everything like that. I think any business that you're in, even for that matter, even if you're an individual, you need to have a crisis management plan. If you don't have that yet, you need to start building something and ensure that you always have that up to date and ready, because this is not going to be the last crisis that you will face in your business. And this crisis might be quite different because it's a pandemic. It is impacting across the world, many facets of the life and business that we deal with. But having a crisis management plan, what I would suggest is that if you want more details on that, Google it. You'll find different versions. Check out something that fits you, and with your partners, with your employees, whoever it is, try working out what that crisis management plan is going to be. And keep that updated, keep that always handy with you, so that you can use it whenever you know when there is a crisis. be resourceful and extend your runway. When I say extend your runway, what I mean is that if you've seen the aeroplane take off, there's a runway, right? You go on the runway and then you take off. What really happens is that if you cannot take off on time, then you need to extend your runway. And the fact is, companies and businesses in this world are not going to take off the way they used to take off before this crisis. So your job is to extend your runway. Your runway might be financial resources. Your runway might be taking care of your customers. Your runway might be keep the business running. So whatever that is going to be, you need to extend your runway. And for that, you need to be resourceful. When I say resourceful, what I mean is that with the limited resources that you have, you should be able to run longer. Go minimal and go agile. You need to be able to think minimal. If you have any extra fat that is part of your process, part of your running the business, you need to take care of it. You need to go minimal. And at the same time, you need to go agile. When I say go agile, I'm talking about process. I'm talking about the way you look at business, the way you look at customers, the entire agile mindset that you need to have to build products or even run a company. And going minimal, I would even recommend that you go minimal from your personal lives, because that always adds up, especially when you are a startup entrepreneur. You definitely, it makes a lot of difference when you're minimal in your personal life as well. Implement remote working. Now, we all know that we have to implement remote working. There's no other choice. If you've not done it, you need to start thinking right now. We'll get into a bit detail on that down the line, but you need to start implementing remote working. Explore employee engagements for a win-win. Now, you need to probably renegotiate, or even the contract, even the employee engagement, with a win-win in front of you, that you as a startup entrepreneur, as a company wins, as well as the employees win. You need to start having that conversations with the employees so that you can create a win-win situation that will take you for the next few months for sure. Not during the lockdown alone, because you're going to take some time to kick off and then move forward after this whole thing is over. So you need to renegotiate and re-engage with employees in a win-win fashion. And every company would have their own way of defining win-win. And I think that perspective would really add a lot of value. Understanding the impact to employees. As I said earlier, safety to life is more important than business. At the same time, impact that this whole situation is having on your employees, on the people working in your organization, you need to start being considerate and understanding that impact to different employees within your organization, and that's going to make you a winner and not a loser. So I think you need to be considerate on that aspect. Talk about productivity while working from home. Now, even if you implement remote working, even if you tell people that okay, you work from home, one of the biggest problem people who have no experience working from home or remotely is that their productivity is going to go down. Now, you need to start talking about how you can improve productivity while working from home. There are many ways in which you can improve productivity, and you need to start having that conversation within your organization and have methods for improving productivity, because people are going to work from their home at least for a month, and who knows how long. So you need to really start having that conversation with your employees and with your partners and people in the organization. Utilize effective live conferences. Zoom, WebEx. Zoom is free. So startups, one thing that I said is that be resourceful, be minimal, make sure that your cash flow is you take care of your cash flow. Zoom is a good choice because I think the free version of Zoom gives you 45 minutes for a conference. So you need to start doing those live conferences when you want to talk with your team members or have a conference among the team. I'm sure many of you might be using it, but I just want to make sure that how do you effectively use a live conference? One of the things that we are doing right now is trying to effectively use a live conference. So I think you need to start using that, and everyone within the organization should be comfortable using that. Do daily sync ups and regular all hands. Now, daily sync up or daily stand up is an agile terminology. It's a ritual within agile where daily you sync up for about 10 to 15 minutes, where you ask three basic questions. First questions are, uh, what did you do yesterday? What are you planning to do today? And what impediments do you have? What challenges do you have that would not enable you to do what you're supposed to do today? So these are three very simple questions you ask each of the people within the organization or within the meeting. And as they answer that, if you find there are impediments, there are challenges, you address those challenges. And make sure you have regular all hands. Since people are all working remote, if it's a small organization, make sure you all speak to each other every day, if not once in a week, twice in a week, as regular as possible, as much as possible. Make sure that you have that communication going on. Find digital alternatives to physical office events. See, one of the things that we miss when we cannot go to the office is there is a sense of community. There is a lot of things that we do as part of office events. Like, for example, here you have happy hour, or you have having coffee together, breakfast, bagel time, and all those kind of stuff. So one of the things that you could do is have that things virtually. Find find some kind of a fun digital alternative for these things, so that people feel comfortable, that people don't miss the office the way they otherwise would. And you would still have that spirit of the office coming into your digital personas. Involve everyone to share ideas on move ahead plans. So you're all going to have move ahead plans. And the best thing that as a startup that you can do is to have that conversation with your employees and ask them also to share ideas, because many times it's not necessary that the startup founders or the entrepreneurs would have the best ideas to move ahead. Maybe the employees or the people working in the company or even your partners would have better ideas on how you can move ahead. So it would be good to share those ideas and involve people into that conversation. Speak to your employees. Be available, relevant, and accessible, which means that you need to speak to employees should be able to reach you, the founders. It doesn't matter where you are, at what time of the day it is. You're running a startup, you're not working for a company. An employee calls you at 2 o'clock midnight, early in the morning. You better get up, pick the phone, talk, do what is necessary. If not, don't run a business, at least not at this time. Next part, speak to customers in the same way. Be available, relevant, accessible, because customers are going to call you, and make sure that you're available for your customers. It doesn't matter what time, you have to be there, because if you're not there, customers are going through problems of their own, and you don't want to add to it. So you want to make sure that you're available. Understand and analyze the impact to your clients. So that's one thing that you have to do, because you might have clients from different geographical locations. You would have clients with um, different industries. And for you to really understand and analyze what is happening with those clients and those industries would really help you navigate better through these times. Which means you need to understand the supply chain impacts. The supply chain impacts to you and your clients, because the supply chains have a problem. If you have a client which completely depends on the Chinese market for their supply chain, they're going to have a problem in their manufacturing, in their business, which is in turn going to have a ripple effect on your business. Even if you are not working in any of these areas which is affected, you still will have some kind of a ripple effect that there's a pinch that you're going to feel. And for that, you need to really understand these supply chain impacts, both for you and for your clients, which will help you make the right decisions during this time. You need to have committed shorts and clear vision longs. What I mean is that you need to have 1 week, 2 week plans, 3 weeks plans, and you need to have clear visioned longer plans which go for probably 2 months or 3 months. You don't have to commit for the longer plans because things might change. 2 months down the line, you might have a totally different world that we live in. But you need to have committed shots, which means that you need to have very committed, clear-cut ideas for the next week. If someone tells you today is Friday here, Saturday over there, what are you going to do on Wednesday? You need to have a clear idea what you're going to do on Wednesday. If not, it's going to be tough. So that committed shot is something that is very important for you. Bring a culture to work on time boxes. So what I mean by time boxes is the same thing I mentioned earlier, which is this 1 week, 2 week time boxes. People should start time boxing every piece of work they do. If it takes 4 hours, time box it. If it takes 2 hours, time box it. What are you going to accomplish in 8 hours in a day? Time box it and make sure that it works perfectly well. And have that culture of time boxing every piece of work that each individual does within the organization. Build a crisis canvas. Now, crisis canvas is an interesting approach. For example, in a large organization, when you're trying to have value streams and when you're trying to build large-scale software solutions, to understand a problem well, to understand what you're really heading towards, you create a big canvas and you ask a lot of relevant questions. You find the champions. Champions would mean your clients. There would be champions who would be employees within the organization. There would be champions in terms of if you have 10 different software products or if you have 3 different services, there might be a champion product or there might be a champion service which brings maximum revenue to your organization. There might be one service which is not currently giving the maximum revenue for you, but that is a service that is going to be least impacted due to this crisis. Try to identify all those things, and you will identify some of these services and products are going to faster. They're going to be sprinters. They're going to produce results in the short possible time. You're going to get results in 2 weeks time, 3 weeks time. And you would have some services and some product which are like marathoners, because you're not going to get any positive revenue from them in the next 2 weeks. But these are things that would really be your cream product or service 2 months down the line, 3 months down the line. So try to identify that, try to create a canvas. I don't think you will find something like called crisis canvas on Google because I made up that. So, but the whole idea, maybe later on I can build up something. I didn't have the time to create one, but it's mimicking on the normal canvas concept that you have when you do large scale implementations. So try to build a crisis canvas, and that will give you a lot of open perspectives into what's happening within the organization during a global crisis. Now, that was the idea and opinions. I know I went very fast through it because I just want to make sure that we have a time check, we finish that, and then we can go into a Q&A. The vantage point. So vantage point is where you stand at a high level and you look at the entire plane. There are companies which have a vantage point at this point, at this particular juncture. E-commerce marketplaces. Definitely, e-commerce marketplaces are probably going to have a lot of opportunities during this time because people are not going to the retail shops. That would mean the retail businesses will start booming. Pharmaceuticals, obviously, I don't need to explain further why pharmaceuticals or some kind of pharmaceuticals would have a better time now. I don't know if that's a good thing or bad thing, but at least if you're in that industry, that's what's going to happen. Logistics and delivery. Logistics and delivery is going to have a problem, and there are some logistics and delivery companies which is going to really benefit because people are not mobile. So if you are in the business of delivering retail or food items onto the doorsteps, that business is booming because people are not allowed to go to the shops or they are not going to the shop. So that's one area that might work. Video conferencing, Zoom, as they say, have had so many people subscribe to their service, and apparently they're struggling to get the cybersecurity and everything in place so that they can make sure. Yesterday I was in fact at a video webinar by the Stephen Kotler, who wrote along with Peter, wrote the book "The Future is Better Than What We Think." Yeah, that is faster than what you think. So he had a video conferencing, a webinar with other two people, and it did not work for 15 minutes because it just stopped working. And then they had to give a new link, and all of us had to jump into this new link. And so which means that most of these companies, new companies which were doing video conferencing, have suddenly started getting a lot of customers, a lot of users, and they're not able to manage because systems are not strong enough to withstand something like that. So that's one business that would definitely, you're going to find new entrants into the business, and you're going to find the same people offering or gaining market share during this time. Entertainment, gaming, online streaming, Amazon, Netflix, gaming companies, all those people, there's a lot of opportunities for them. Online education, and also the whole reskilling, upskilling, cross skilling businesses are going to have a lot of opportunities. So that's another area. And interestingly, we don't have anything in Malayalam. Most of the online education, you talk about Coursera, Skillshare, Udemy, all those people have it in English and not in Malayalam. So that's an interesting business, at least if for that market. So that's a slice of the market which I think are having an advantage at this time. Looking for trends, and I want to give you an idea of the trends that I think is going to happen even post COVID-19, now and post COVID-19. The VR-based video conferencing and VR-based conferencing and holograms. I think that's an interesting space that's going to be, because all the companies which had all these major conferences, event management, the entire industry has been seriously impacted. Which means tomorrow there could be a possibility that virtual reality VR based conferences will become a norm. Holograms, for example, one of the the TED talk by Yuval Harari was sitting in Tel Aviv, and he was present on stage, or his image was present on stage, and Chris was in fact talking to the image of Yuval on stage, and as an audience in the as a person in the audience, you would really believe that these are the two people on the stage, but that's not how it is. So that interesting technology is going to there's going to be a lot of developments, and I hope that's what's going to happen. And I think that living and working through a digital persona becomes very more relevant. If you know about this thing called Second Life, there's a thing where you have a different persona, you have a different reality in the digital space that could become more relevant now, which means that when you have this VR based conferences and this virtual reality based conferences, you are creating your persona or digital everything of you, and you're sending that digital you into the digital conference, which means the entire conference will happen with you physically sitting over here with your VR set or whatever it is, and then you would have your digital double attending the conference with other digital doubles of other people. See, that's one of the interesting things that might happen. See, all these things have been happening, but many times that external push, that sense of urgency comes when a crisis comes on you, and that's when development in these areas would really start building itself. So I think that's really going to be an interesting thing to watch. At the same time, on the physical world of ours, personal connections become more relevant between human beings, between people. Phone calls would make more sense. Our meetings would be limited, which means we would care. We would give so much more importance and time to physical meetings with other people. And I think that's something how our individual life is going to be impacted. And in the future, there are a lot of people I know now who stay back from digital world. You cannot stay back from digital world. You cannot, and you will be part of it. Whether you like it or not, you have to be part of it. Cyber security will be something that is on everyone's mind. When you have your digital double doing the conferences, when you have everything and anything and everything going online, more than what you have right now, cybersecurity is going to be something that is in everyone's mind, which also means that businesses in the cybersecurity space is probably going to have a lot of opportunities down the line. A flood of work from home productivity tools. Since more people start working from home, the productivity tools for working from home, there's going to be a flood of companies which would start products that can improve productivity. Every company in this world is going to explore remote work possibilities. Even the companies which did not or could not do it will start thinking, how can you do remote working? And how can you make sure that people can work remotely and yet be productive? And maybe they might even try for one whole week remote working and evaluate the productivity and see if that works, because this is not the last time we are going to have something like this. This is not the first time we had it, but this is not the last time it's going to happen. So it would be at the best interest of companies to ensure that if there is a need for remote working and the way that we're going through right now, they better be ready to have a productive workforce remotely. AI and robotics. Now, we all know AI and robotics, there's a lot of things happening. There's going to be a sense of urgency for all the businesses and companies within AI and robotics. That sense of urgency is going to really show itself in the coming months. In this year 2020, there's going to be a sense of urgency on these businesses to come up with solutions to issues that we face or issues that we might face. Now, when I look at a crisis, see, sometimes we don't know we can till we take that leap or someone graciously pushes us off the cliff. So I think that's one thing. We might not know we would, if we really think, we might think we cannot survive, but that's because we have never come to that point where we really have to think about it. And I think we all can survive, but we should survive not as an individual company. We will only survive as an ecosystem. So at the same time in Kerala, as you individually think about as a small startup, you have to also think like maybe Startup Mission as an ecosystem. Because as a startup, you alone are not going to survive, but you're going to survive as an ecosystem, as a group of startups in a geographic location. That's how you will survive, and that's how I think it should be. So which means that there's going to be a lot of collaboration among the startups to start thinking like an ecosystem and acting like one. Now I want to give few book recommendations, a few things that I've read in the past few weeks and something that I'm working on, books that I'm reading currently. So one is The Future is Faster Than You Think, which is by Peter, who used to who started the company that I used to work before with Singularity University. It's a very interesting look at how technology and digitization is going to impact various industries in the future. The $1 Billion Brand Club is a very interesting book if you're interested in direct to customer business models like Warby Parker and Third Love, and where what really happened was that there was an existing industry, and that existing industry was completely toppled by companies like Dollar Shave Club and all those things, which would break the supply chain completely and directly sell the product to the customer. And that's a trend that happened over the past 10 years in the US, and I think that is an interesting thing that would that you might really really like, if to get new ideas, and also understand what's happening. Deep work, Cal Newport's deep work. Uh, we have a lot of noise, and we have a lot of things distracting us. How do you really find deep, meaningful work in a distracted world? You're going to be working remote. You will have the pressure cooker making it sound. You have the kid running around. You have your spouse calling out to you. You have your million WhatsApp messages coming in all your groups. You are a distracted species, which means we need to find deep, meaningful work within that distracted world. So how do you do that? That's Cal Newport's deep work. And then Loon Shots by Safi. Loon Shots is again, if you've read Peter's Abundance and Bold and all those things, the whole idea is looking at loon shots, ideas that would transform industries, change industries, which would completely dismantle industries, which really change the world. So such kind of ideas, if you have an idea like that, how do you really go for that loon shots? Um, the other book is Third Pillar by Raghuram Rajan, which talks about the community, the importance of community within an economy, and how this community piece of the economy was something that was completely missed by market, state, everything. So that's a very interesting thing that you might be, since we're going to be starting to build communities one by one after this whole thing. And finally, Carter's Sense of Urgency. That's not a very new book; it's an older book, but a sense of urgency is something that we all need to have right now. So that is all. I want to thank you all, and you can connect me on LinkedIn, uh, and go to Pen Positive. Pen Positive. In fact, Pen Positive. I just launched an online program, Malayalam, because there was nothing in Malayalam. So I have an online program on getting started. If you have projects and ideas, people live with a lot of ideas and dreams and all those things. And I just wanted to make sure that if there is a way that you could overcome your starting troubles and start with something, this would be a right time, because people are sitting at home. They might find time to work on their side hustles, work on their ideas, work on their projects. So if you go to penpositive.com, you can attend for free one of those. And you can connect on social media at penpositive. So that's it in one shot. Dhanaj, I'm done.
Yeah, thank you, sir. It was pretty insightful, and the quote was actually pretty deep. So I think we have a couple of questions from Mr. Amit and Mr. Jacob now. So if you can just have a look at the Q&A.
Okay.
Amit asked about your opinion on how long you should be pushed with the business outcome before you take off the foot on the pedal and fall back into safety. And Jacob was asking about they work in the art and picture framing. So if you can just answer them, that would be great. Do you able to kind of see that in the Q&A?
Yes, I am looking through it. Give me a second. How many? Oh, we're
And,
pretty fast. Yeah, it's just 13 minutes. So I went through it pretty fast. Okay.
yeah.
One second.
And to all others, please kind of ask your question in the Q&A, or just raise your hand. We will unmute you if you want to ask, or you can use the chat.
And you can ask questions in Malayalam, so you don't need to ask in English. So we will. So I just want to make sure that feel comfortable, whichever language you feel, English or Malayalam or Hindi to some extent. Don't use any other languages that I don't understand.
So, okay, those who want to kind of ask questions, please put that in the chat.
Okay.
That
So
please unmute.
where is okay? Is a supply chain? The entire world is pointing to China, for example. PP, every country has its own export ban. US doesn't want to import from China. So how else can you get your supply chain unaffected? You can't be manufacturing. If you want to sell, you can't control entire supply chain. I don't know if there's a question from Thomas, or he's saying that supply chains are affected. I didn't say supply chains are unaffected. Supply chains are affected. So you need to find an alternative. You need to you cannot be supply chain proof. It will impact you. So uh, so definitely, yeah, you cannot control the supply chain. And even if your supply chain is not impacted, your customer's supply chain might be impacted. So either way, your business will be impacted one way or the other. So that's a whole interesting thing. Maybe you need to start talking to people who are working in supply chain and seeing what is the alternatives and what are the stages in which the supply chain would potentially change in the coming months, so that um, you can change. What is the option other than China? Well, I'm not the person to answer that. If China, before China, there was a different supply chain. If China could take that role, who knows? Maybe India can take it. Why can't India manufacture? Thinking that only China can do it might not be the solution, right? So you're told retail markets are not easily accessible, and so digital and e-commerce things. Most of the e-commerce things concentrate on corporation area and they hesitate to come outside corporation limits. What are all other possibilities in this case? I did not really understand the question. Uh, you want to maybe you can unmute a few people and they can ask the question.
Yeah, we will do that. So can you look at the Q&A? There is a
Where
question.
is the Q&A? Where do I go? Oh
Uh,
yeah, sorry, my bad. Okay, I got it. Thanks for the talk. I am with you on safety of employees first, and then comes business. In your opinion, how long should you be pushy with the business outcomes first before you take the foot off the pedal and fall back into safety? You don't take the foot off the pedal and fall back to safety. You always have your pedal on safety, and then comes business, is what I was saying. Now you can you can differ with what I said, but if you don't take care of safety, you will not have a business tomorrow. That's my, but you have to manage these things together, because Elon Musk wanted, I mean, Tesla office is near where I stay. So Elon Musk wanted to run that factory, and then finally the authorities came down and said that you got to shut it down, because there's a problem. So safety comes first, and then you have to manage your business within that parameter. Hello, sir. As I am part of the, don't call sir, but that's okay. As I am part of the sales team in our startup, and we deal with artworks and picture framing. We directly meet architects and customers for business in this difficult times. How to create interest in customers, and it's not a necessary item. See, that's a very interesting question and a very tough question to give you an answer. Um, if you ask me, I would not go for picture framing or artwork at this moment, but that is just me. Uh, but there might be people who would go. Um, I used to be a salesperson in my past life, and I know it's very difficult to creating a need at a place where there is no need is what the salesman's job is, the ultimate job, right? Um, Recently someone sent me a message asking, he's a salesperson, how do you do sales? You have targets, how do you meet the targets? You're asked to, so these are times when as a salesperson you should probably have and renegotiate or come up with a win-win model with your startup founders and say that, okay, this is what we want to do, but this is how the market is. What are the different ways in which you could get business? See, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter how you're getting the money. You might be selling your artworks. Maybe you're not selling your artworks. You might have different. You might be able to digitize something. So maybe you could change your business model into going collecting all these old pictures from them and then create a collage of that, and then or an artwork of that collage, and then having a change the product altogether is what I'm meaning. That's just my idea. I don't I have no idea about artwork, but just thinking through, those are change the product, change the way you're looking at it. how to make a clarity on the initial stage of a startup, especially on COVID stage. Clarity on the initial stage of a startup. Um, I'm assuming that you're saying that you started something right now and COVID came in between, and then how do you make a sense of it, right? Uh, so I don't fully understand that question, but I think if you've just started, then this is the right time to really think about if you can survive and if you can make something during this time. Maybe the product that you set out to really make is not relevant at this point. You have to see, one of the basic things in startup is that never fall in love with your product and service. Don't fall in love with your product and service like you fall in love with your kids. Don't do that, because your product and service is only as good as the customer loves it or the customer can afford it. Just because it's your product, it's just like me saying that my mom makes good pickles and let me go and sell it and people would buy it. No, people are not going to buy it. My mom made the pickle, I like it, doesn't mean that everyone in the world is going to like the pickles that my mom made. So don't fall in love with your product or your service. Maybe these times of crisis would allow you to rethink on what your product and service is and make sure that you build something that the customer really needs. I don't know if that answers, but that's my answer. Anonymous attendee, he doesn't have a name. You guys should, at least when you come into these kind of meetings, put a proper name. I'm not going to answer that. I'm going to go forward. I don't talk to people who don't have a face and name, at least on business and professional conversations. Manhar Mohammed. And I told you I don't mince words. This is how I work. So Manhar Mohammed, yeah, and anonymous attendee, his question is about Balatabhai, and that's not the persona I'm talking right now. So I have no answers for that. Manhar Mohammed. Hi Vinod, good day. I'm running a recruitment agency at Qatar. What will be the post-COVID trends of recruitment contractual jobs? Contractual jobs, I think, is going to have a lot of opportunity. But just don't concentrate on recruitment alone. I would say that you should start in parallel a side to do reskilling and upskilling and cross-skilling. By which what I mean is that when you do a consultative recruitment, and don't do a recruitment of just taking the requirements and then finding the people and just matching them. Don't be a matchmaker. Try to be a consultative recruiter. I think that helps. I think we're done with the questions over here. No, Sean, is it the best time for telecalling? Can you suggest some do's and don'ts while telecalling this time? I mean, telecalling is always a tough job, whether it is this time or that time, because I remember in my past life, I used to make about 120 calls a day, telecalls to people. This is a time when you can do telecalling. You can do telecalling, but don't call to people who are very important and decision makers in a company, if you can get the number. So what I used to do is that when I used to do telecalling, while I used to run my company and I used to do the sales, I used to call only the CEO and CTO of companies, no one below that. And it's very difficult to get. But when you get, you're all running startups, but you ask companies, the people who are sitting in the top, they're pretty lonely bunch of souls. So if you get the person and you are very lively in making telecalls, you really get the attention of the person. But it's very difficult to get those people. But I don't think there's anything wrong in it. But this would be a good time, because most of these people whom you're trying to reach would be spending more time on LinkedIn and places like that. The telecalling business has to move into digital networking, which means on LinkedIn, on Facebook, or whichever. LinkedIn preferably, if you're reaching out to professional people, that is a way in which you should move. You should try to see about 10% of your work happening in digital networking over LinkedIn, and that would add a lot of advantage for you. Try to do it. At the end of the day, you're not doing telecalling because you like to call on phone. You're doing telecalling so you can get leads and businesses. If you can get leads and businesses through LinkedIn and things like that, why not? And that's going to be more effective for you. Praveen Kurup, yes, I am working with a company called Logic, it's a startup. Basically, I want to know what is public relations and future, how we need to do a public relations effective in startup. See, one of the interesting thing about public relations, see, for startup, this would be a good time to build your brand. When I say build your brand, I'm talking about educating people on your industry. So if you have a product to sell, or if you have a service to sell, and you're going to a customer, and customer has absolutely no clue of who you are, what your company is, what your product is. Customer might not even know that they need a product. So that is where your public relations group can really create an awareness, which makes it easier for your salespeople to go and sell. How do you create that awareness? That awareness is something that you can use digital. Always, as I said, find digital alternatives to physical activities. Find digital alternatives, because digital alternatives will always stay there. COVID comes, COVID's dad comes, mom comes, it doesn't matter. Digital is there to stay. So find that alternatives and find that way of doing public relationships in there. Now, if that means one-on-one interaction, I think a good way is to start a Zoom account and make sure that you interact with people through Zoom. Even train your customers, train other people outside your companies to use Zoom, ask them to download Zoom or Skype and ask them to make that part of their life, and they're going to be very happy with you, and they're going to remember you. If you want to build a relationship, that's a good way to do it. Nihad, I've been working on a startup idea and I see this a perfect time to launch it, but registrations are a problem. Can I start a startup without registrations? Registration of a company? I mean, or registration? I didn't understand what that. If it's the registration of company, you have to go register a company because you have to do it legally. So I think that's what I feel. Startup. Okay. I am Shabi Ali from Calicut, working as a GBA junior business analyst. My question is, how agile concept influential and implement in this economic crisis and COVID-19 period? See, agile concept, how is it going to be implemented in this economic crisis and COVID? See, agile methodology is not to get you out of an economic crisis. Agile methodology is a way of looking and doing things process where you time box certain things and you plan it, you break large problems into smaller chunks and try to solve them. So that's a whole way and mindset of thinking. It is not going to help you in the crisis. No, it's not going to get you out of the crisis, but it'll help you manage your existing work at the time of crisis. Not just at a time of crisis alone, even other ways. Being agile, it is not doing agile, it's being agile, because it's a mindset that you change. So it's not going to specifically do anything to the COVID-19 period, but it is going to help you be more productive and have a predictability in what you're going to be delivering into the market. Would you suggest to register a startup as a firm or a private limited company? You should probably ask that to a lawyer, a company lawyer, or someone who does that, or a chartered accountant. There are benefits and plus and minuses on that. That would be a better way. And I don't know. I never had a private. No, I had a private limited company. In India, I had initial was a proprietorship at that point of time. So I don't know. Now things are much more faster. It took me about 3 weeks to register a company back then. Yeah, it should be pretty fast right now. But that is something that you should be talking to your business lawyer or chartered accountant. Dan, thanks so much for taking out this time. I work for an organization which is more aligned to IT infrastructure. My question to you is, people say you go back to school every 10 years. What is a specific industry leading program? What is a specific industry leading program which you can recommend for business managers and IT infra space to stay relevant? Would this be still the usual IT infra fundamental certifications? I would not be the right person to give you an answer on that, because I don't work on the infrastructure space, but I know there are a lot of certifications. I would recommend that you join an IT infrastructure group within LinkedIn, post that question over there, and I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people who will give you very, very valid answers that you can really make use of. I would be giving a wrong answer if I tried to answer that. But LinkedIn groups is a good place, because you're also going to be connecting with peers within that area, and you will know what certification they have, and you can even talk to these people. There's another thing. So you go to a LinkedIn person and you find he's got the certification. If you send a message and ask him about the certification, one thing I can guarantee you, he's going to be more than happy to talk to you, because everyone wants to show off their certification, and everyone wants to show off that they've done something good. And if someone asks that, they're going to be very happy. So that's also a way in which you can start that conversation. Vignesh, thank you for your information and inspiring decision. This is Vignesh Adashan from KSUM. As you might know, KSUM is supporting tech startups in the state. Do you have any suggestions, thought to a team to support the startup efficiently in these COVID days? The same thing that I told the startups, it's about be available, relevant, and accessible. That's the three words, whether it is startup to customer, startup to employee, employee to founder, echoes is KSUM to startup. That's what I want to make sure. Be available. Make sure people attend these programs. I don't know if you guys are recording this, which I did mention, but that's okay. But one thing you could have done is record this and make sure it was available for people to go through if they are interested in it. I think no questions. Q&A coming. Abraham, this is Father Dr. Abraham Alamutal. We are going to start a rural startup facility in Tiruvalla, Healthcare Innovations Accelerator, startup facility, a technology business incubator, co-working space, IT infrastructure in Tiruvalla. Okay. Yes. But I don't know if there's a question in that. Business incubator, co-working space. I don't know, co-working space at this moment, if provided we get out of this issue as fast as possible, maybe. But I didn't see a question there. I'll jump to the next one. Nihad is very active. What's your take on investors interfering in our startup? Should they actually be given voice, or we should be? You want their money, you better hear them. If you don't want their money, they're not going to bother you. If I'm going to put money somewhere, I better make sure that I'm going to ask questions, you better answer. So that's how startups, you don't have a choice. You'll ask for money, you hear them. So you can't give them, no one, if you give output, no one is going to ask you. But till you give the output, till you show that deliverable, people are going to ask. It all depends on what your engagement with the investor is going to be. If it's a traditional, if it's an investor who's an investor who's been in the industry for quite some time, and there's a method of investment, and there's a model in which what investment he does, you always want to get the help of the investor. Imagine a situation, you are in a business in an X industry, and this investor has made 5 investments in the X industry. Of 3 of those X's have really made big. You want to have that investor involved in your startup as an advisor and help your startup, because he has got better knowledge about what works and what does not work. And there is no interest in, there's no emotions here. It's money, it's startup, it's deliverables, period. Sana Tayil, thank for the informative session. In order to increase productivity and employees working from home, will implementing agile methodologies in this time help? For a startup which hasn't implemented agile methodologies, my straight answer is yes. Start slowly, but let people understand what agile is, go through it. I might have something coming up, I don't know by when, an online course on agile in Malayalam, because I've not seen that coming up. But I can't guarantee when, but that is yes. The short answer is yes. What are the possibility for rural startups? I have to check what you mean by rural startup in a rural area. Then the answer is there are a lot of possibilities. See, when you have a startup idea, you should try to solve a problem within your community, within your place, within your geographical location, or global. But identify problems that you're going to solve. It doesn't matter whether you're a rural or an urban startup. The question is, what is the problem that you're going to solve? Are you going to solve a problem that is an urban problem, or are you going to solve a problem that's a rural problem? Are you solving a problem for which a solution is something that someone is going to pay for? Then you have a valid business. If you have a problem, you have a solution for the problem, and no Tom, Dick, and Harry is going to pay for it, then your startup is not going to go forward. So have that business pointer there. Srijit, my query was, as e-commerce is a good opportunity as mentioned, e-commerce services are always available to customers who are in corporation, and panchayat areas are not made available for the services. Kindly suggest. Panchayats are not, areas are not having this facility, not because they cannot place an order, but because they cannot get it delivered there. Right? Is that the right understanding? Which means you have a delivery problem. You don't have an e-commerce problem. You have a shipping and handling and delivery and logistics part where you have a problem. So you have a business opportunity. If you say that panchayats are not taken care of, have a business which delivers goods to the panchayat. Can't you connect with the rest of the e-commerces? And I might be talking on the top of my head. I might not understand what he's saying, but still, if that is the issue, then it's not an e-commerce issue. It's a logistics and supply and delivery issue.
So
delivery problem. Yes. So delivery problem means I think that's a way you can approach to it. We've got 24 minutes.
Yeah, we
Go
have
ahead,
people who want to ask directly. Mr. Praveen and Mr. Ajay, we have unmuted
Sure.
you. You can ask directly, please.
Hi. Hello.
Hello.
Hi. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Okay. So my question is that what will be the future of like data science, AI, and VR? What are the opportunities that you're like expecting for these areas? That it's an emerging area, as you have mentioned before, and what are the like how we can explore it in rural places in Kerala as well as in apart from other countries also, like developing countries.
So I think one of the ways, and this is my thought, thinking how it will impact the rural area versus how it will impact the urban area. I think we should, when you talk about digital, there's no digital rural and there is no digital urban, right?
Okay. Yes.
So it's just digital. There's no rural and urban there. In physical world, yes. So see, VR, there are a lot of possibilities. See, if you look at a VR, people cannot travel, right, during this time, and
Yes.
the travel industry is going to have a problem. The real estate is going to have a problem because people cannot go to places and see, right? There is investment across the world where people from China used to come and invest in US, people from US investing in Australia, people from India coming and investing in US, and all those things happen. If you have a VR business which addresses the real estate industry, narrow down into that, there might be a lot of possibilities. Now, adoption of VR is needed if the industry has to grow. Our biggest challenge was that the industry adoption rate was not as big as we thought it would be. But there was investment going on over there. But since now, because of the COVID and because of Corona and everything and things moving virtual, there is a possibility for a lot of things to go and people to really explore VR. So which means the adoption would increase. So that's how that industry and possibilities over there would increase. Now you have to, if you're looking for an idea there, you have to start identifying what problems are there and what are the areas over there. That's a whole process by itself. Now, if you're looking for a job perspective, then you have to look at the technologies that are there and being abreast with the technologies and get yourself trained on something. Coursera provides courses free now, and you could avail some of that. Data science definitely has a lot of potential, and my thought from data science is that, see, now data analysis and data science is a role by itself. Tomorrow, I think that data science and data analysis will become a certain percentage of every role or every job that you have in tech, because you would have to be involved with data science and data analysis irrespective of what the heck you're doing in the industry, because it will be so much intertwined with what is happening.
Yeah. Mr. Vinod, thank you for the wonderful session. I am Ajay from Calicut.
Yes, Ajay, tell me.
Yeah, I was reading an article by Kiran Mazumdar yesterday, where she was mentioning that there's going to be a huge shift. No, we know that things are very uncertain, but still she was telling there's going to be a big shift in the investment mantra. She was telling the many startups were able to scale up because of fancy valuation and overvaluation, even though they are asset-light models. Okay. And she was thinking that there's going to be a shift towards the asset creation models where more investment will happen in the near future, because she was telling even the pharma, which is a virtual pharmacy, which is selling online, is having more valuation than a real pharmacy. So there is going to be a shift in that thought process. No, I thought it's interesting, maybe especially when we talk about valuations and startups and all, and where the real income flow going to be a real factor for investment. What is your view on this?
No, whenever there is a catastrophic economic issue, kind of a crisis, there is definitely going to be a shift. There was a time in the Silicon Valley where you could draw your plan on a tissue paper and get $1 million for that. That was one time. But then the dot-com, and during the dot-com time, every stupid idea was worth $1 million. And then people figured out that ideas, any stupid guy can get ideas, right? Implementing it and making money out of it is where the challenge was. I mean, everyone has an idea, right? Not just one, many ideas. So there was a shift on that. People wanted to see. So now, normally it depends on the kind of business that you're in, but always I tell people that try to get your first customer, try to make something instead of asking. It depends on how much of your company do you want to really give away, right? So money is important, but if you think money is the only way you can move forward, then there's a problem, is what I'm thinking. So there is definitely going to be a shift in how investors are going to look at markets. But for a market like Kerala, which is just growing up and which doesn't have a lot of baggage or garbage from behind, you have a lot of opportunities to completely have a fresh outlook of what the world is for, because you've got a level playing ground at this moment in terms of ideas and things like that, if you have the knowledge and idea to build up something. See, so there's a Kerala ecosystem, in my opinion, is at the vantage point, because you don't, and startups can start thinking that way. The only thing is that you have to start communicating, collaborating with people who can really help you.
Okay, good. Thank you for that. Right.
Yep.
Ashish, do you have a question? We have unmuted you. Ashish, are you there? Hello. So I think we kind of ran out of time. Also, it's already 12:15 now. So should we wind up?
I mean, it's up to you. If people don't have questions,
I think Rajit, what do you think?
Yeah, so I think we should wind up, because all others who are raised hands, they are from Kerala Startup Mission. So I guess when Vinod sir asked, is he audible at that point of time, they should have raised their hands. So yeah. I think yes, sir.
It's interesting because I see 46 people in this. I'm just going to share my thoughts. You have 46 people, you have startups, we're going through a crisis. There's a 1-hour call and I'm here for, unless what I've said is absolutely doesn't make sense to people. You've got 15 minutes and people don't have questions. ഞാൻ ഇംഗ്ലീഷിൽ പറയുന്നതുകൊണ്ടാണോ ക്വസ്റ്റ്യൻസ് വരാത്തത്? നിങ്ങൾക്ക് മലയാളത്തിൽ പറയണമെന്നുണ്ടെങ്കിൽ മലയാളത്തിൽ ചോദിക്കേ, ഞാൻ മലയാളത്തിൽ ഉത്തരം പറഞ്ഞുതരാം. അല്ലാണ്ട് ഒരു ചോദ്യം ഇല്ലാത്ത ആൾക്കാരുണ്ടാവുമോ കേരളത്തിൽ? അല്ല, എല്ലാം ഉത്തരം അറിഞ്ഞ ആൾക്കാരാണ് ഇരിക്കുന്നത്. ഇവിടെ കംപ്ലീറ്റ് 47 ആൾക്കാരുണ്ട് ഇരിക്കുന്നത്. അതിൽ കുറച്ച് ആൾക്കാർ KSUM ആണെന്ന് വിചാരിക്കുക. അതില്ലാതെ ബാക്കിയുള്ള ആൾക്കാർ എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞു കഴിഞ്ഞിട്ടുണ്ടെങ്കിൽ ആർക്കും ഒരു ചോദ്യങ്ങളില്ലേ? അല്ല സിനിമ കാണാൻ വന്നിരിക്കുന്ന മാതിരി.
Anyone have any questions? എന്തെങ്കിലും ചോദ്യങ്ങൾ ഉണ്ടോ?
ആർക്കെങ്കിലും ചോദ്യങ്ങളുടെ ചോദിക്കൂ. എനിക്ക് 15 മിനിറ്റ്, ഞാൻ 1 മണിക്കൂറിന്റെ ജീവിതത്തിൽ ഞാൻ ഇതിനു വേണ്ടിയിട്ട് ഒഴിഞ്ഞു വെച്ചാണ്. എനിക്ക് 15 മിനിറ്റും കൂടെ ഉണ്ട്. ഉണ്ടെങ്കിൽ ചോദിക്കാം. ആരെങ്കിലും ഉണ്ടെങ്കിൽ കൈ പൊന്തിക്കുക. യു ക്യാൻ റേസ് യുവർ ഹാൻഡ്.
Hi, hello.
ഹലോ പ്രവീൺ, പറയൂ.
Sir, this actually ഞാനൊരു സ്റ്റാർട്ടപ്പിലാണ് വർക്ക് ചെയ്യുന്നത്. ബേസിക്കലി കമ്പനി എല്ലാ ഏരിയയിലും അവർ ഓരോ പ്രോഡക്ട്സും സർവീസും ഉണ്ടാക്കാൻ വേണ്ടി ശ്രമിച്ചുകൊണ്ടിരിക്കുന്ന കമ്പനി. ബിക്കോസ് ഒരു USP അവർ ഉണ്ടാക്കിയിട്ടില്ല. ബേസിക്കലി പ്രോഡക്ട്സ് കസ്റ്റമർ വരുന്നതനുസരിച്ച് ഡെലിവറി ചെയ്യുന്ന മോഡലിൽ വർക്ക് ചെയ്യുന്ന ഒരു കമ്പനിയാണ്. Basically, we are facing a huge issue for the salary cut. It's a personal salary cut, as well as they are not accepting people ഇനി കുറച്ച് പേരെ അവർ ടെർമിനേറ്റ് ചെയ്യാൻ ഉദ്ദേശിക്കുന്നുണ്ട്. അപ്പോൾ what will be the future? Because I'm a working professional. If I join with other startup also, I will face the same thing there also.
Yes. Yes. Very valid. No, very valid question. And the fact is, Praveen, it is not just in Kerala. അമേരിക്കയിൽ ഇവിടെയൊക്കെ സ്ഥിതി അതാണ്. ലോകമെമ്പാടും that's a same situation. Because if you have a job, stick where you are and don't jump unless it is that necessary എന്നുള്ളതാണ്. Or it is going to give you an advantage in some way or the other. But this is a real testing time, you know. People who survive this are going to be stronger when they get on the other side. That's the main thing. And everyone will not survive is a fact. But that doesn't mean that you have to stop the game, that you have to give up. My point is that we have to really try to find the best possible equation that makes it work. We cannot live with salary and this whole thing of being minimal. See, if you have the very minimum things in life, survival is so easy in this world. But the fact is, we live in a big consumerist society where more means better, but that is absolutely wrong. And we keep again and again talking about the need for more. Bigger car, bigger house. I've got a house which is 1,000 square feet, which is as big as the bathrooms in some of the houses I've seen in Kerala. But you need more maintenance. You are high maintenance individuals. You need more money. I'm not saying that about you, but generally, that whole concept that I've been always trying to tell people is to be minimal, which means if you are minimal, you can survive longer, you know, when crisis comes. And you have a better choice of taking jobs that you love, which might give you a lower salary that you have right now, but buying you more time. Having 5% increase on your salary in your next job with a 18 hours job at work, time at work, that is a wrong. That'll be you're losing it there, right? You might be getting 5% increase in your salary, but you lose so much time for work, right? But people don't think about it. People only think about the 5% increase in monetary benefit. They don't look at time. We don't value time. That was the main reason I switched to Malayalam here. People are not valuing time. I put 1 hour of my very precious time that I can spend time with my kids, do something that I love, and no one has questions, right? One of the important things is that we should start looking at time that way. Coming to your question, yes, there is a problem. That is where I mentioned about renegotiating employee engagement, right? On a win-win. You need to have a win-win discussion with your founders where you win and they win. And startup is going through the crisis. You as an individual is going through the crisis. And when there is a storm, jumping the ship doesn't help, right?
Yes.
Yeah, maybe one ship has a better captain than the other person, but what we are through is a perfect storm, because many things have come together to make things for worse for us, right? So I think having the dialogue and conversation with your founders, knowing that we are all in this together, would really help, is what my personal thought would be.
Okay.
Do you compare? Okay. Okay. Do you compare 2008 recession and current situation? Question raised in YouTube.
Hi, can I come back?
Yes, you can.
Yeah. See, coming back to the point that we discussed, Mr. Vinod.
What was that? I forgot.
Regarding that investment shift, investment.
Oh yeah. Okay. Got it.
Yeah,
Okay.
gotcha. So what's your what you have to tell to the startups here who are in the process of scaling up, or who are at present burning their money, which are asset-light models, how they should take it forward for the next at least 1 year, how they should plan it, and what can be the opportunities available for them, and this is a very tricky.
So there was one pointer that I put of reevaluate, realign, and be resourceful, right? And the reason for that is that you need to build your runway. You need to extend your runway. You were thinking about having the money to take off in end of May. Okay, that will get extended, which means that you will be able to take off not in May, maybe in June or July, right? Which means you need to have an extended runway. Reevaluate what you have. Understand if there are any short wins that you can get. That's where the pointer I put about committed shots and and clear vision longs, where you have longer visions which you're not committing to, but you can plan ahead, which will give you visibility into the future. But you need to have committed short wins that you can make. And that reevaluation, realigning, and if you have investors who put money over there, that discussion is something that has to be done with the investors. Maybe investors would be ready, if they really believe in what it is, they might be ready to pump in more money to make sure that you can get that extended runway to move things forward.
Okay, let's go. I thought this point is very valid for most of the startups.
Yeah. If you're taking money, definitely at this time of crisis, it's not a decision that you take alone, right? You will be taking it with investors. How many of you have started talking to your investors? When this crisis struck, was the investor the first person to call you, or you were the first person to call the investor?
That's something that should come from the startups now. That's
yes,
very interesting point.
It's not investors to call you. You have to call the investor and start talking.
Yes. Right, absolutely.
Yeah. Hello, sir. Just to add on to what Faisal asked, he is asking how can we compare the 2018 recession and the current situation? More like whether it's a V curve or a U curve. More like that.
I don't know. See, our biggest problem in life is that we start comparing, whether it is with individuals or with recessions. You need to get out of this recession. That's what you need to do, rather than comparing it with 2008 recessions. Economics all over the world have nothing better to do rather than comparing recessions. We should just try to get out of this, get our ass on the line, and do things. That's my 2 cents.
So
this 2008 recession, I know I was as a banker, I was involved in that. We were at least
talking about the Lehman Brothers. You're talking about the Lehman Brothers.
Yeah.
This thing. Okay.
No,
but that is not. But that is quite different. See, you didn't.
That's quite different. Yeah.
You didn't have a health scare there.
Yes. Absolutely.
See, you could run your business. Safety was not an issue. So that is why I made that point that safety comes first than business, because here you have a health scare. Yeah. People are losing their life, and that is quite different, in my opinion. That is the most differentiating factor from 2008. And business and industries, business is going to, the way we live and the way we conduct business is going to dramatically shift. There's going to be a paradigm shift in how we do things. And that's what is going to be challenging. Some people can take it, some people cannot take it. That for me is the major difference that I would see, Faisal.
So on that
That time it was, can you tell that time it was very clear, some financial remodeling and structuring for the next 1 year or something was
you could
possible.
bail out.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
could bail out banks. You can't bail out Corona.
Yeah, that's it.
That's a problem. We don't have a mechanism in hand. That's a thing. We don't. And see, if you look, there's an interview, someone asking question. I think the Times of India guy or someone asking a question to Raghuram Raj. See, these news people, they want to get some answer from him, and they're asking Raghuram. And he's saying, I don't know. There are many ways things would change. Now, if there are people who are predicting how it would be, they're saying that there's going to be a China-centric economy and or Asia-centric economy. They're saying democracies are going to be opening up and coming of age after this crisis. There are people who are saying that we are going to go through a closed, less free, nationalistic world where every country is going to close its borders and close there. But if digitizing becomes very predominant and used by everyone, you might end up in a borderless world. So there are a lot of different ways people can think and contemplate. So I think our job as a startup or an individual working through and for our subsistence and livelihood is to navigate through all these kind of way people are telling what would be the future and try to make sure that we don't die before that. And one more thing I would say, see, there's a concept of a death date. As a startup, you have a death date. As a human being, we have a death date. Death date is where if you stop eating food, you have a death date when you will die. If you stop breathing, there is a time when you will die. 1 minute or whatever it is, and you will die. For startups also, when you stop having revenue coming in or cash inflow, you will die. And each startup in Kerala should find their death date. It's not a very easy thing to do. It is just like for a human being to decide or predict when he is going to die, or even we don't even want to talk about death. But for startup, that death date is very important, because once that death date is clearly put, you will have certain clarity and perspectives for you to really look at what needs to be done. You understand? So I think that's an interesting, I should have put that in the notes of having a death date. Every startup need to have a death date, and you need to know when that is. When someone cuts your ventilator, when someone cuts that cash inflow, how long are you going to survive?
Yeah. So we have a couple of questions in the Q&A, if you can just have a look.
Okay.
Dan and Kiran.
Okay. Okay, we went through these things. Okay, what is your thoughts? Okay, Dan, is it starting with Dan? Okay.
So it's about what's your thought?
Neha, talking in general, student startups are booming well these days. Would you suggest advice to students who are very passionate about the startups? If they're passionate about startups, pursue it and do it. Go ahead. I know people who have started businesses while they were in college, and I know people, I communicate with people in Kerala also who started ideas and built on it while in college, and I think that's a great idea. If you're passionate about it, keep on it. Yeah. What is your thoughts on customer engagements? Thoughts when face-to-face meetings are limited? Social media campaign, digital marketing, and any other thoughts? So face-to-face meetings are not limited on your end alone, Dan. It is limited across in every walk of every other person's business life. Also, face-to-face meetings have been limited, which means that they also understand that we have to work within these limitations. So social media campaign is good, which the reason is a lot of people are using social media during this time. LinkedIn, I see more people watching LinkedIn, communicating LinkedIn, reading articles in LinkedIn and all those things than it was before. Digital marketing, definitely. There are opportunities on that. If you're in that business of digital marketing and social media campaign, there are possibilities, but the question is that who's going to pay for that? Because people are all trying to. So that's why I'm saying that we're all in this together. So you can only survive and thrive as an ecosystem rather than one startup alone in Kerala. And that's my personal thought. My student entrepreneur named running a company named Technocard. We're doing service like graphics, web apps during this situation. All kinds of facing issues. We are also lacking work. We do have rent to pay, some unavoidable expenses. Any suggestion on how we can manage finance? Renegotiating on the rent. If you can leave the rental space and start working from your home, and if that's possible, do it immediately. Until things work out, work from home, digital. Don't spend money on office space. That's one thing. You had unavoidable expenses. I don't know what is an unavoidable expense, so I cannot comment on that. But anything avoidable should be avoided. What is unavoidable to you might not be unavoidable to another person. So maybe you should be very ruthless with yourself on figuring out if an expense is really unavoidable or not. Startup, okay, what kind of business strategies do we have to suggest for our clients? As strategy consultant, most of our clients are using conventional methodology. What I mean, are they not much techy or digitized? That is a great opportunity. You need to tell them, you need to educate them on what digitization is all about. You could probably start with training and educating them into being digital. Show them a roadmap of where they are now to where they will be if digitization comes. Try to tell them if digitization is going to make them survive this crisis if it were to come again. So you should talk on the value of digitization, and people should be convinced with the value that you offer them. Thanks, Dan. Okay,
Yeah.
so I think we are on top of the hour.
Yeah.
Yes, Nidish has one question. So go ahead, Nidish. Last question. Let's take that.
Nidish, you can just type in your question either in chat or in the Q&A.
So Prajit here, sir. Meanwhile, I have a question.
Yes.
So yesterday I did attend a session. So in that session, I came to know about a very valid point, like investors' choice in startups who have the ability to pivot their solution. So, so I understood that your pivotability is the main factor in this COVID-19 days where investors are really looking to invest. So what is your call on that? Does that really matter?
It really matters, not just from an investor perspective, being able to pivot without any emotions involved, right? And that's where I'm saying is that reevaluate, realign and everything, and doing it that way. I think it's just not from an investor perspective. You should be able to, in any relook your entire structure to work on that, and that's part of being agile. And I think each of the startup should really start looking at that and seeing how it will really work for them. See, there might be some people who cannot do it for various reasons, right? Because of the industry, the kind of work they do. But investors would definitely be interested in people who are agile enough to go ahead and do that. See, no one wants to invest in a very rigid kind of a setup where it is this way or that way. While you need clarity, you need commitment, you need predictability, you also need fluidity and flexibility.
Yeah, perfect. So you kind of answered most of my, I was also was wondering how the post-COVID startup space would be like. In your presentation, you have just touched upon VR digitalization and all. So what is your take on this post-COVID world in the startup space? I mean, other than what you mentioned in your PPT, how digitalization will change the way startups work?
See, startups would see one of the things that, and I think one of the reasons that we're probably having this call is that in Kerala, we have not been used to remote working. And I believe it has to do a bit with the culture of what people are comfortable with. When I've had my discussion with a few of the startups, what I've heard is one thing, they don't have the systems or processes in place to effectively do a remote work. Some companies don't. And the other thing is a sense of mistrust. For software companies whom I've spoken to, they've shared that people might take the code. We have a risk with that. There are people who have said that we don't know if they're going to work there. So I don't know about. I can't comment on the trust part of it from a code perspective, but I can tell you that you cannot monitor a person. At least a knowledge worker, you cannot monitor on an hour-to-hour basis. That is why it is important for people to start working in an agile fashion where you talk about deliverables of what gets done in a day. Whether that person commits to a work and he delivers it in 3 hours or 8 hours is not a problem. But you're getting something delivered. And you can improve the productivity and improve the velocity and what is being delivered, and as a part of a process. That you can do. So you can improve the productivity. So one of the things that is drastically going to change in the post-COVID world is your ability to work remotely, because you can scale if you have a system to work remotely. Imagine a situation where you have a very, very productive, foolproof method to work remotely, and you have a resource much away, maybe someone who lost their job in Bangalore but wants to start interacting with a company in Kerala. If you have a very robust remote working environment or setup that you can get work done, I think you have there's a way in which you can move forward, right?
Yeah, and in line with that, how do you think the role of an incubator or a co-working space change when more and more startups start working remotely or work from home option?
See, co-working space will still be there. See, when digital, see, the point from where we are right now to a completely digital world is a long way through. See, we augment our existing activities. We augment our life with digital things. We augment our business with digital things. The co-working space as such, there are companies, we still are human beings who want to have that sense of being with someone to get certain things done. I think that will still have its relevance. But see, one of the challenges I see in Kerala is that when you see that, when there is an opportunity on something, everyone wants to do that same thing. You have more copycats than original things. And that's not just with Kerala. It's across the world, Like Warby Parker was probably the first people who came up with this whole concept of direct to customer. But now you have a word called Warby Parkered, which means companies losing their market share because of a direct to customer company that is taking over their market share. So there are copycat things. So I believe that because 26 years back, when I started my company in 93, I didn't know what an ecosystem was. There was no ecosystem. I don't even know if there was an IT secretary for chief minister. I don't know if that role even existed. It took me, it cost us about 30,000 rupees to get a phone connection. And that is also not in our name. And everything was tough running a business. Now it's easier. But that doesn't mean that you have a co-working space in every place, why do you need a co-working space? Why do you need to go? Some business might need it, some business won't need it. But you can still use a lot of physical, because I would want a conference room or a place where I can meet with customers, right? But when you move that whole thing into digital, then there is a possibility that you could do without that. So any physical establishment businesses will have an impact post-COVID, is my thought. People are not going to take big office spaces.
Interesting. So,
that's my take.
Yeah, it was pretty insightful. I mean, it was amazing talking to you, listening to you whole way. I think we have overshot our time. Nitish is still there. If we can take Nitish's question as the last one, if you want to ask.
Yes, sir. Are you here?
Yeah, I'm here, Nitish.
Okay, sir. ഞാൻ മണ്ണാർക്കാട്, പാലക്കാട് ജില്ലയിലെ മണ്ണാർക്കാട് എന്ന് പറയുന്ന സ്ഥലത്താണ്. അപ്പം ഓൾറെഡി ഇപ്പൊ നമ്മുടെ ഈ ഏരിയ എന്ന് പറയുന്നത് ഒരു സ്റ്റാർട്ടപ്പിന് അത്രയും ഒരു സപ്പോർട്ടീവ് ആയിട്ടുള്ള ഏരിയ അല്ല പൊതുവെ ഈ ഏരിയ മണ്ണാർക്കാട് എന്ന് പറയുന്നത്. അപ്പോ ഞങ്ങൾ ഇങ്ങനെ ഉള്ള ഈ ഒരു ഏരിയയിൽ നിന്നിട്ട് ഒരു സ്റ്റാർട്ടപ്പ് റൺ ചെയ്യുമ്പോൾ ഒരുപാട് ഞങ്ങൾ ഫേസ് ചെയ്യുന്ന ഒരുപാട് ഇഷ്യൂസ് ഉണ്ട്. അപ്പൊ അതിനെയൊക്കെ ഓവർകം ചെയ്യാൻ സാർക്ക് ഈ ഒരു കുറച്ച് ഗ്രാമപ്രദേശം, വില്ലേജ് ഏരിയാസിലുള്ള സ്റ്റാർട്ടപ്പുകൾക്ക് കുറച്ചും കൂടി ഓവർകം ചെയ്ത് ചെയ്യാൻ പറ്റുന്ന കുറച്ച് എന്തെങ്കിലും നല്ല ടിപ്സുകളോ കാര്യങ്ങളോ എന്തെങ്കിലും ഉണ്ടെങ്കിൽ. എൻ്റെ ഒരു
ജൂനിയറായിട്ട് കോളേജ് പഠിച്ച ഒരാള് പുറത്തൊക്കെ കുറെ വർക്ക് ചെയ്ത് കഴിഞ്ഞിട്ട്, അല്ലെങ്കിൽ ഇപ്രാവശ്യം നാട്ടിൽ വന്നപ്പോൾ കാണുന്നുണ്ടായി, കൽപ്പറ്റ ഒരു കമ്പനി റൺ ചെയ്യുന്നുണ്ട്. ക്ലയൻസ് ഒക്കെ ഇവിടെയാണ് കേട്ടോ, അമേരിക്കയിലൊക്കെയാണ്. കൽപ്പറ്റ വെച്ചിട്ടാണ് നടത്തുന്നത്. അയാൾ ഹയർ ചെയ്യുന്ന ആൾക്കാരെല്ലാവരും എഞ്ചിനീയറിംഗ് ഗ്രാജുവേറ്റ്സും അല്ല കേട്ടോ, പോളിടെക്നിക് കഴിഞ്ഞവരും. അപ്പൊ ടെസ്റ്റ് ചെയ്യുന്നതൊക്കെ കമ്പ്യൂട്ടർ പ്രോഗ്രാമിംഗ് എഴുതാൻ അക്യുമൻ ഉള്ള ആരെങ്കിലും എടുക്കുക എന്നുള്ളതാണ്. അല്ലാണ്ട് ഡിഗ്രി ഉണ്ടോ ഡിഗ്രി ഇല്ല എന്നുള്ള വിഷയം. ഡിഗ്രിക്കൊക്കെ ഉള്ള പ്രസക്തി നഷ്ടപ്പെട്ടു നാളെ. പണി അറിയുന്ന ആൾക്കാണ് ജോലി കിട്ടുക, ഡിഗ്രി ഉള്ളവനല്ല. അപ്പോ അങ്ങനെ നോക്കുന്ന സമയത്ത് നിങ്ങൾക്ക് ചിലപ്പം പലപ്പോഴും നിങ്ങൾ നേരത്തെ പറഞ്ഞില്ലേ മണ്ണാർക്കാട് അതിനുള്ള സ്പേസ് ആയിരിക്കില്ല എന്ന്. അത് ചിലപ്പോൾ തെറ്റായ ധാരണയായിരിക്കാൻ മതി. നമ്മൾ എന്ത് സപ്പോർട്ടാ മണ്ണാർക്കാട് നിന്ന് വേണ്ട എന്നുള്ള ആദ്യം ചിന്തിക്കണം. റിസോഴ്സ് ഇല്ല എന്നുള്ളതാണോ, അതോ ആൾക്കാര് സ്റ്റാർട്ടപ്പിനെ മനസ്സിലാക്കുന്നില്ല എന്നുള്ളതാണോ? ഇപ്പൊ ഡിജിറ്റൽ
നമ്മുടെ ഏരിയയിൽ ഒരു പ്രശ്നം എനിക്ക് തോന്നിയിട്ടുള്ള ഒന്ന്, എംപ്ലോയീസിനെ കിട്ടാനുള്ള ഒരു ബുദ്ധിമുട്ട് ഫീൽ ചെയ്തിട്ടുണ്ട് പൊതുവെ.
എംപ്ലോയീസിൽ നിങ്ങൾ എന്താണ് നോക്കണമെന്നനുസരിച്ചിരിക്കും. ഇപ്പം എംപ്ലോയീസിൽ നിങ്ങൾ ഒരു കട്ട് ഓഫ് ചെയ്യുന്നത് ഒരു വ്യക്തിയുടെ ഡിഗ്രി വെച്ചിട്ടും മാർക്ക് വെച്ചിട്ടും ഒക്കെ ആണെങ്കിൽ ചിലപ്പം, അല്ലെങ്കിൽ ഇംഗ്ലീഷ് പറയുന്നതിലൊക്കെ ആണെങ്കിൽ ചിലപ്പം റൂറൽ ഏരിയാസിൽ ആളെ കിട്ടാൻ ബുദ്ധിമുട്ടുണ്ടാകും ചിലപ്പം. പക്ഷേ നിങ്ങൾ ജോലി പഠിക്കാനും അത് അറിയാനും പഠിച്ച് മുന്നേറാനും പറ്റുന്ന ഒരാളെ നോക്കുന്നതെന്ന് ചിലപ്പോൾ ആളെ കിട്ടും. നൗ നിങ്ങൾ ഇനിയിപ്പം ചില റിസോഴ്സിനെ നിങ്ങൾക്ക് റിമോട്ടായിട്ട് വർക്ക് ചെയ്യാൻ വേണ്ടിയുള്ള സംവിധാനം ഉണ്ടാക്കി കഴിഞ്ഞിട്ടുണ്ടെങ്കിൽ, ഞാൻ പറഞ്ഞ മാതിരി മണ്ണാർക്കാട് ഉള്ള നിങ്ങളുടെ കമ്പനിയിൽ വർക്ക് ചെയ്യാൻ ബാംഗ്ലൂരിൽ നിന്ന് വരെ ആൾക്കാർക്ക് വന്ന് വർക്ക് ചെയ്യാൻ പറ്റും അവിടുന്ന് വർക്ക് ചെയ്തുകൊണ്ട്. അപ്പൊ അതുകൊണ്ട് ഇപ്പൊ കോവിഡ് ഉണ്ടെങ്കിലും ഇല്ലെങ്കിലും റിമോട്ട് വർക്കിംഗ് എന്നുള്ളത് നിങ്ങളുടെ ഒരു ബിസിനസ് രീതിയുടെ ഭാഗമാക്കേണ്ട ഒരു ആവശ്യമുണ്ട്. അത് നിങ്ങളുടെ ഗ്രോത്തിനെയും സ്കെയിലബിലിറ്റിനെയും ഗുണകരമാവുക ചെയ്യാൻ.
മാത്രമല്ല ഞങ്ങളൊരു പ്രോഗ്രാം ഈ COVID-19 ഭാഗമായിട്ട് ഞങ്ങളൊരു പ്രൊജക്ട് ഓൾറെഡി ഒന്ന് ഡെവലപ്പ് ചെയ്തിട്ടുണ്ടായിരുന്നു. പക്ഷെ ഞങ്ങൾക്ക് അത് റീച്ച് ഔട്ട് ചെയ്യാൻ ഇതുവരെ പറ്റിയിട്ടില്ല, ആളുകളിലേക്ക് അത് എത്തിക്കാൻ. അതെന്താ ചോദിച്ചു കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ എനിക്ക് തോന്നുന്നു ഗവൺമെന്റിന്റെ സൈഡിൽ നിന്നാണെങ്കിലും പല കാര്യങ്ങൾക്കും അപ്രൂവൽ വേണം എന്നുള്ള ഒരു ഇതിലാണ് ഞങ്ങളിപ്പോൾ അന്വേഷിച്ചിടത്തോളം അറിഞ്ഞത്. DMOമാരും ഒക്കെ ആയിട്ട് സംസാരിക്കണം എന്നൊക്കെയാണ് പല ആളുകളും ഹെൽത്തിലുള്ള ആൾക്കാരുടെ അടുത്തൊക്കെ ചോദിക്കുമ്പോൾ അവരൊക്കെ പറയുന്നത്. പക്ഷെ ഞങ്ങൾക്ക് അത് കറക്റ്റായിട്ട് പ്രോപ്പറായിട്ട് റീച്ച് ചെയ്യാനും പറ്റിയിട്ടില്ല അങ്ങനെ ഒരു സാധനം.
ഗവൺമെന്റായിട്ട് ബന്ധപ്പെട്ട സാധനമാണെങ്കിൽ KSUM ഹെൽപ്പ് ചെയ്യാൻ പറ്റുക.
അതെ, KSUM ഞാൻ പറഞ്ഞിട്ടുണ്ടായിരുന്നു, പക്ഷെ അത് ഡിലേ ആണ്. അപ്പൊ അത് എങ്ങനെയാണ് അത് മാനേജ് ചെയ്യേണ്ടത്?
ഡിലേ ആണെങ്കിൽ പ്രജിത്തും ധനജും ആൾക്കുണ്ട്, അവരാണ് ഡിലേന്റെ ആൾക്കാർ, ഞാനല്ല.
അതല്ല ഞാൻ ചോദിച്ചത്.
ഇല്ല, ഞാൻ വെറുതെ പറഞ്ഞ ഇല്ലല്ല, അത് എനിക്ക് അതിന്റെ ആൻസർ അറിഞ്ഞൂടാ കേട്ടോ. കാരണം എന്താണ് അവിടുത്തെ ഇഷ്യൂ എന്നുള്ളത് എനിക്ക് അറിഞ്ഞൂടാ. പക്ഷെ ഡിലേ എന്നുള്ളത് നമ്മളുടെ ജീവിതത്തിന്റെ ഒരു ഭാഗമാണ്.
സാർ, ഇതേപോലെയുള്ള പ്രൊജക്ടുകൾ വരുമ്പോ ആ പ്രൊജക്ടുകൾ എങ്ങനെയെങ്കിലും പെട്ടെന്ന് റീച്ച് ഔട്ട് എത്തിക്കാനുള്ള കൂടുതൽ എന്തെങ്കിലും നമുക്ക് പെട്ടെന്ന് അറിയാനുള്ള എന്തെങ്കിലും അതിനെ കുറിച്ചൊക്കെ പറഞ്ഞ് തരാൻ സാർക്ക് അറിയെങ്കിൽ വളരെ ഉപകാരമായിരിക്കും.
എനിക്കറിയില്ല അങ്ങനെയുള്ള പ്രോജക്ട്സ്. എന്താ പ്രോജക്റ്റ് എന്ന് എനിക്ക് ഡീറ്റെയിൽസ് അറിഞ്ഞിട്ടില്ല. ഒന്ന് ഇവരായിട്ട് കോൺടാക്ട് ചെയ്തിട്ട് എന്നെ ലിങ്ക്ഡിനിലുണ്ടോ നിതീഷ്? ലിങ്ക്ഡിനിൽ മെസ്സേജ് അയക്കാം. ലിങ്ക്ഡിനിൽ എനിക്ക് മെസ്സേജ് അയക്കും.
ഓക്കെ, ശരി.
താങ്ക് യു നിതീഷ്. നമുക്ക് വി ക്യാൻ ടേക്ക് ഇറ്റ് സെപ്പറേറ്റ് ആയിട്ട് നമുക്ക് ഡിസ്കസ് ചെയ്യാം ഈ ഒരു കാര്യം. ഓക്കെ. So I think we should, there are no more questions as of now, and നമ്മൾ already ഇതൊരു യൂട്യൂബ് ലൈവിൽ ഇട്ടിട്ടുണ്ട്. So the entire discussion has been recorded. അത് നമ്മുടെ ചാനലിലും ഇട്ടിട്ടുണ്ട്. So anyone can kind of visit back and kind of listen to this. യൂട്യൂബ് ലൈവ് ആയിട്ട് ഇട്ടിട്ടുണ്ടായിരുന്നു.
Okay, then that's fine.
Okay. Sure, sir. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Okay.
Thanks for the time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care. Thank you all.